or the two brand new mid laners.
I'm feeling pretty good. We finally get Academy to start off. I've already been paying attention to Twitter. You get to see that Magical has already shown a little bit of his madness, and I think it's only going to continue for the rest of the season.
Who's maniacally crazy? No, nobody. Nobody.
No one. No, ever.
Nobody.
Absolutely. Everybody's completely
would advocate
normal.
for any
it
crazy
is really
build.
fun. Now, I will say we do have some seriously hyped matchups coming up for us. And our first one being 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians. And especially being able to kind of have this as our first matchup together. We get one of the, I guess, children of 100 Thieves going against Golden Guardians. It's a very fun one. And when we're looking at specifically the 100 Thieves roster, yes, there are some decent stars. Yes, there's a lot of development, but Magical, there's one in particular that stands out.
I mean, it's got to be Kenvi. Kenvi is always going to be the one that stands out. You have Tenacity already subbing in the top for the main team. And so Kenvi, someone who's grown with him back on 100 Thieves Next and also doing a great job in Academy previously, would love to get that promotion as well. And I got to continue to look at him and how he's going to be able to continue into Academy in 2022.
He's been a major carry for this roster, Lennon. It's been really, really exciting to watch his growth over the past couple of years, going from the 100 Thieves Next roster, now 100 Thieves Academy, and possibly making a jump, as Magical said, up to LCS with Tenacity at some point. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he's able to continue all this success throughout the rest of the year.
Incremental growth, like the steps up, the fact you do get promoted through the ranks, that just gives me so much hope for the developmental style of North America itself. But with also, the rest of this 100 Thieves roster are no slouches. I mean, we have some seriously stacked members here when they're bringing in Wixie and Busio on the bot lane. You've also got Gamsu coming through the top. So anybody else who's really sticking out to you, Josh?
I mean, I want to take a look at Sword, right?
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment, though, because we do have a lot of 100 Thieves people to talk about where, I'm going to jump over. I'm going to take that question, apply it to 100 Thieves. I really want to look at how... excuse me. We still have Sword on the screen. Sword, he's got the D back once again, and we've been seeing that he's been playing... he's got the extra D, right? But he's coming in as a support. He was playing mid lane during the Proving Grounds section so far, where he's played a lot of Galio and supportive style champions, and if he can continue to play all of this style, I think he's going to be really good when he comes into the bottom side of the map. But he also has really big challenges going up against 6
I want to say something really quick, because this goes back to the point we were talking about with me and my madness, because we got a mid laner in the bot lane, right? And I've been advocating for, some spicy picks in the bot lane, and if anyone might do it, Sword, hey, he's going from mid lane to support, maybe he could do it.
And known for some supportive picks himself in the mid lane in his time as well. I like it. We'll see if those enchanters do buy him some time there. But on the other side, you got stiff competition. A team that's had a decent amount of experience already in this new season in the Golden Guardians.
Yeah, Golden Guardians has been playing a lot in the Proving Grounds so far. We've been seeing them play up against a lot of teams, and interestingly enough, they haven't necessarily been playing as well in practice as a lot of people were expecting them to play in theory, right? This team is supposed to look quite good. Ryoma is one of the most lauded people on the team, but I also really want to look at Stixley, who's been subbing in for Violet, and I gotta say, it is so refreshing to see how aggressive this guy has been playing across all the Proving Grounds. He really clearly wants to win in ways that we weren't used to seeing on CLG, where he was much more of a passive player. Now he's the one who's been flashing
forward. The positional coach has to come out and teach those kids, right? Like they gotta come out here and make sure they know how to approach the matchups and things along those lines. But it is really exciting. I always get a kick out of seeing Stixley play, right? He's been a long-standing member of the LCS, and getting that experience on the roster and being able to partake that a little bit on the rest of the members is super huge. So Magical, the other side of the take is up and coming mid laner, if you will.
Well, an up-and-coming mid laner against his old team, too.
Yeah.
Ryoma is someone that everyone's talked about for years, and we've seen this player have some hits, some misses. But honestly, I think you look at last year especially, and you can kind of already see that he is really trying to break back into the LCS and has been doing a great job at it. There have been a lot of arguments made that he deserves another shot. And honestly, I think if he has another successful year this year, but on a different roster, there's no argument that can be made to deny him that spot.
Yeah, the argument is there.
Yeah, I feel like even just watching him as well in the Proving Grounds so far, I mean, we saw at the very beginning of the day when the video popped up, Ryoma was the one who says, I think I proved that I was the best mid laner in Academy last time. I'm just ready to do it again. And so far, you know, he's been the other member of this team that has really been carrying them through a lot of their Proving Grounds games so far. It's really been the Ryoma and Stixxay show coming together, taking over games. And if that's something that they can continue,
And
I think it should be a very good
to
matchup against 100 Thieves.
The two sides that we're kind of shining our spotlights on, or the two players rather, it's definitely Ryoma versus Kenvi, right? Two of the biggest stars on their teams in the up-and-coming style, right, of Academy, needing to prove themselves, needing to have a good showing on the first day. And yes, you can say Academy's a long split, but Josh, it helps to show a little bit of progress from the offseason.
It really does. And we also have to note that 100 Thieves Academy, they're the reigning champions from Proving Grounds and Academy, right? They were looking really, really good last split during the summer, but this is almost an entirely new roster.
Yeah.
Gamsu and Kenvi, kind of the only real returning members for this team, and it's a really high bar to try and live up to. And I think, you know, on paper, they are poised to do it, but we haven't seen this roster play as a team just quite yet. And so going up against Golden Guardians will really be this first litmus test because we kind of have Golden Guardians as a bit more of a known quantity.
I was going to say, Magical, if you have any input on that one, because I think that matchup, yes, different lanes, different positions, but still very integral.
Well, see, I'll always look at former teammates and always be hyped about that because you already kind of know their style, how they play with the team, what their conversations are going to be like, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. Both Ryoma and Kenvi know the other, so they can say, hey, Kenvi likes to play pretty aggressively. If Ryoma is going to be able to get a good shove in, he could deny that. He can make sure that he's rotating early on, especially with Iconic. But then the reverse side can also be said. You could say, hey, if I bully Ryoma early on, I can make sure I deny him any potential to be able to tag team with Iconic and utilize that lead to then go to Stixxay in the bot lane.
Yep. Go ahead.
And I kind of... Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads into one of the people that we haven't really talked about so far on 100 Thieves. They brought in Jimmy in from Machi Esports, where he's been a long-tenured player over in the PCS. I mean, he was on Machi, got third in spring playoffs, third in summer, and fourth in summer playoffs. So, like, he's obviously doing fairly well. And
well, apparently we're going to do draft all together.
All right, hey, I'm down for it. I like this. You know what?
Here we go. It will be Golden Guardians on that red side. Lee Sin, LeBlanc, Thresh, okay. But it's the Caitlyn, TF, and Camille by 100 Thieves.
So Jinx first pick, right?
Probably, honestly. It's either going to be one of the three.
I mean, it's been very strong, but we've also been seeing a lot of Ezreal. Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of different things come out from Stixxay so far. He's really been enjoying the Ezreal. I feel this is very strong, but the Yuumi first pick is really surprising to me. A lot of people look at this as one of the strongest scaling picks in the game right now, and it's kind of saying that they don't think that Wixie and Sword are going to be able to punish them in the bottom lane just because Sword doesn't.
So this is kind of like an LCK
position.
special. We've been seeing this a lot over in the LCK, picking up Felios and Yuumi, even an early Yuumi, so you can get something like Ezreal. You know what I want Sword to play? We've seen it in the LCK. It begins with an S, ends with a D. Anyone? No one?
No,
Singed.
I'm not doing it.
Yes, yes, give me Singed support.
Singed?
Come on, Sword, I believe in you.
I mean, I'm going to be the first one to say it. There are not very many Singed players.
Josh? I don't
period.
like that
I would be
attitude.
very surprised if that
This
was
is what
something
I'm
that
talking
Sword
about, though.
like,
This is
had
the
in his
Enchanter
roster.
stuff I want to see from Sword. He looks so good on the Enchanters in mid lane. Just throw it out there.
Yeah. It's something that he's always been good at, right? And he's always played a lot of these supportive champions, and a lot of people have criticized his willingness to give up CS in order to help the rest of his team. But on the support role, you don't really need to worry about that. You're not going to be cessing anyway. So we got a very good 2v2 combo with the Viego and the Lulu. On the other side, Lulu isn't always necessarily going to be the kind of champion that's going to be punishing the Yuumi particularly hard, and it will allow 16 to scale into the game.
Jinx and Aphelios finally potentially coming through. I'm interested in Golden Guardians with the Jhin, with the Yuumi combo there.
We've seen it over in LCK, right? That's kind of what I was bringing up. It's like Aphelios is a good option, Ezreal's a good option, Jhin's still a good option because you're going to be able to be pretty safe, pretty far back, get the heals, the movement speed. But the answer has to be
They cannot understand.
that we saw a lot throughout 2021. Sure, we've seen more recently, even during 2021, Thresh was like really what you wanted to pair up with Aphelios.
Yeah.
It was still a good fallback. The safety it provides, it allows you to be able to poke out a little bit more in the lane too, so that you can keep this Aphelios, who might have some range discrepancies early on when he switches out his weapon.
So, Josh, big brain analysis here. Who you got between the enchanters, Yuumi or Lulu? Who would you pick in a fight?
Oh man, honestly, most of the time, I generally say that Lulu has like the best 2v2 of any enchanter pretty much in the game. But this is a situation where you're looking at 100 Thieves and they don't have a whole lot of control over when fights actually happen currently. They grab the Corki, which has the package, which is like a secondary engage, right? Like you can kind of just jump over your team, but you're throwing in one of your primary damage carriers.
That's the problem.
If they don't
We get
blow somebody
Corki
up, it
Victor
becomes
that we gotta
really,
cast
really
down,
difficult.
Josh.
So,
Come on, that's... I mean, if this Gwen gets locked in for Tony top here, I'm even more heartbroken because I really wanted to see them pick something like, I don't know, just more aggressive. Give Gomsu the Gwen and then pick Jack, but then again, they're blue side, so they can't really do that. I don't know. It's just typical stuff. I want some spice and flair to my life.
well, it's okay. We still have one more pick. It's not too late for you to get over a bit of your disappointment in the picks. But the big thing, yeah, you know, it's just what's that game? It's literally called getting over it, right? Get out your sledgehammer and we can take care of this. But the Gnar is going to be coming through, and I'm a little bit surprised. Like, neither of these teams have great tools with which to actually get team fights started, and so we really have to kind of look at who has really good range tools, and it's kind of a pretty even, honestly. You look at the Victor, it's counteracted by the Corki, and the Jhin, you know, is pretty decent at getting some catches started, but there's not necessarily going to be obvious ways for either of these teams to get all these fights going when they want to. So, as I always talk about, this is going to become a recurring theme throughout all of Academy. Whoever gets to the objective first is going to have a big advantage.
Right? It's something we've been seeing a lot. So, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this game is going to go between the two squads, especially because we have Corki Victor. As you should. As you should.
I can hear the sarcasm from here, Magical. It's something we've been seeing over and over again. But I think it is going to be really telling, like, how impactful Tony Top's Gwen is going to be here, just because it is so difficult for all these range champions to hit when team fights actually get started, that you are going to be kind of stuck in a position where a lot of your range champions aren't necessarily going to be as impactful on the red side of the map, just because Tony Top is going to be able to throw down that circle and prevent most of the damage from coming through.
I'm actually going to like kind of pivot this and say I'm looking at the mid jungle duo for the side of Golden Guardians Academy, because Victor and Xin Xiao actually have pretty good wave clear coming in from the mid lane, where you can actually push the Corki early on and kind of try to see if you can bully him back underneath this turret, which allows you to then skirmish, and Iconic being on Xin Xiao into Viego especially. If you can punish that early, we were talking about this, and this is what I was talking about with knowing your opponent, with having played with them before, where you can find these little advantages in the draft. The Xin Xiao, I really am going to keep my eyes on for Iconic.
Yep, and it looks like we're going to be loading onto the Rift here as well. So we do have our first game here on the secondary stream to watch out for. Nothing particularly exciting immediately jumping to my eye in terms of opening strategies, right? Wixie opting to go for the press the attack, which gives you a little bit more burst damage depending on your gun. But everything else, pretty standard across the board.
Getting the poke with as well. I'm a bit surprised to see them go for that kind of play. And even look at this. Realma, with Chime still there, is now pushing back Kenvi to get some ward control.
True. I think this is mostly just money, right? Like Chime hops a ride onto Ryoma and they start
that's
moving forward. But it's also very interesting that
right
you know
there by
nobody's
Ryoma,
covering
pretending
this.
to put the ward down.
Right?
Kenvi even pings that there's a ward here. They're gonna know there's no ward placed. So when Ryoma actually does use that yellow trinket, it's gonna surprise them and give so much more control over to GGA.
Well, we'll see how effective that can actually be, right? It's just a matter of like getting information now versus getting information later. And you know, as any investment
See, this is how I know you're a
expert
top
will
lane
know,
player
money
because
now
you're like,
is
yeah, Vision's
always
okay.
good.
And
but
I'm like,
we do
more play
have-
like Vision now. Oh, Vision good. Getting control like this, amazing. The duality's insane.
The duality, yeah, we'll get more of that. I had a joke that I wanted to say when we saw both of our like red coats on, because I really wanted to call you Hugh Neutron so that I could be Hugh Hefner, but now that doesn't make sense.
We'll be
because
able
we
to
can't
see
see
it
it.
soon enough, but no, I kind of want to get back into this game and see what's going
Yeah.
on, because Iconic took a while to actually get anything. He's just getting the blue buff now, and you can see that there is a bit of the lead coming in from Kenvi just based off of that. Just a little bit of an... I mean, it seems minor again. These are very small incremental things early on that eventually can add up, and if Kenvi plays this one wisely, maybe even spotting out that there's no remnants of a ward by the red buff, can utilize that to his advantage and try to see if he can punish.
Oh, Chime. Yeah, we're also seeing like small differences coming out in the bottom lane as well.
Not staying
Chime
attached the
taking a
whole
lot
time, too, yeah.
of
It's kind of
damage
interesting to
as
see
the
that from
Yuumi
Chime.
right off the
Opting
bat.
not to stay attached for most of that took a lot of damage immediately. So it allowed Sword and Wixie to play a little bit more up, but they're still getting shoved in. Most of the lanes at this moment are actually favoring that of 100 Thieves, where you can see Jimien kind of pushing up a little bit, Gomsu getting an advantage over Tony Top, but only the bot with 6 and Chime kind of playing aggressively, still continuing that lock-in style, even the proving ground style, where they're trying to really put the pressure back onto their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to like where the jungle actually started, right? Because Stixxay and Chime were in lane first, they got to control the wave, even despite the fact that Yuumi doesn't normally have a whole lot of control here. But Ryoma and Jimmy trading a lot of damage at this point. They both have teleports, so they're unlikely to see any kills. But now we have to note that because junglers are on opposite sides, we get that yin-yang, where they both show up on the opposite side of mid lane and
This,
potentially
to me,
just go for an all-out brawl
if I'm 100 Thieves,
2v2.
I don't even try that. You got a good push mid, you got a good push in top. You're sure not going to be able to have full control over the bottom half of the map, but your team comp scales well. You got a Corki, you got a Viego, you got an Aphelios with Lulu to back it up. All you need to do is make sure that you're just holding relatively even, if not maybe slightly ahead, and you're going to be fine to outscale that of GGA.
See, it's interesting, right? Because these two teams scale very differently. Magical. You know, you have Tony Top, who on the Gwen gets this really large wake up at level 6. You suddenly become so strong because so much of your damage comes out of the passive, and you apply your passive so many times with the Needlework ultimate. But now we also
like
have
this
Iconic
giant
coming
baiting
down
it
to the
out.
bottom
We've got the
side.
Ignite ticking
This
on
is
his head.
an easy
He's going to
gangster
be
fight.
first blooded over by Sword with the flash in. Wixie still low. Just need one more slice with the spear to be able to take down an even kill. Can be nearby, waiting out the Spectral Maw. You want to be able to get onto Iconic, but he's not going to be able to get there just yet. Flashed in on top of him. Here's Jimmy
Nice.
N2 with the early rotate. Valkyrie's in. Stixxay's low. Just needs one more auto, but he's still alive underneath the turret. Jimmy N not able to finish it off.
Oh! Oh, I mean, a very cute thing from Iconic actually saves at least one of their lives there, right? Getting the knockup down onto Kenvi does mean that they aren't going to have enough crowd control. He stops the W from going through from Kenvi, and that keeps them both alive. But at the same time, those kills trading back and forth, I have to admit it, Magical. Chime is one of these players that is not impressing me so far in this game. He's having a rough debut right now on the Academy Spring 2022 season. His first death going through, he's taking a lot of damage every time he hops off. And we're also seeing that 100 Thieves are doing a fantastic job actually punishing him every time
Lulu
he
pick
gets
is
off
actually
his
a really big
steed.
brain move by the side of 100 Thieves into Yuumi especially, because if she's ever detached and tries to reattach, polymorph. You interrupt that immediately. So you deny that safety that Yuumi would normally have. It's something that we used to see back, you know, with Nautilus into it, because you'd be able to deny the reattachment as well. So here with Lulu, it's more instantaneous.
Yeah. There is a small travel time that Chime can tried to outplay, but we haven't necessarily seen that come to fruition just yet. Yeah, very true. Very small for both. And we also have an opportunity here where we are still seeing Stixxay and Chime are still controlling the wave a little bit better than Wixie and Sword, right? They are constantly being able to push up the wave when they want to. And the big thing now, ooh, Iconic gets the flash out of Jimin in the mid lane, but the bottom lane is still going to be a focal point because there are no summoners left for anybody.
Count that out as Jimmy gets flashed on by Ryoma, solo killing his opponent. Oh. Penne, Jimmy N.
That's Ryoma just coming out once again saying, I am the best mid lane in Academy. I'm going to prove it. I don't care who you are. PCS, no, is that even a real region at this point? But it is going to give them so much pressure. Remember that conversation we had at the beginning of the day, Magical, where if you can control Ryoma, you can control the jungle matchup. So far, Ryoma is definitely getting the better.
This is kind of what we were setting up earlier. It's the old teammates. It's an old team with Ryoma. And if he's able to do a great job here on Golden Guardians, I've said it before and I'll say it again, there's no argument that you can make against Ryoma deserving a spot in LCS at that point.
We'll see if he can continue doing that, right? We are seeing this first blood going through, but we also had a conversation. I don't know if you were here, but we were talking with executive producer Kelsey, who's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if Corki goes down 40 CS. He's still going to be relevant with the package later on anyway. And we're seeing that even with the first blood, right now, 100 Thieves are currently in the lead, and a lot of that is about the lane I'm talking about.
This year that I know. I know.
You know. Yeah. Corki, he gets to 2.5 free items.
You know what
he's
do,
a monster.
What he doesn't want to do, and what I love. And you know what I love about League of Legends? Fighting. Constant fighting. Where is my fighting? I just want to be screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
That's true. I do like to have this
but
back
then
and
I
forth
don't get to talk.
So you know what?
So
it's a good.
You know,
I guess that's hard.
Yeah, you have to, you know, it's a give and take. It's a relationship.
I'll get my chance later.
Right.
So right here, it's all you. You got to talk big brain stuff. So right now, we actually do have Iconic and Kenvi about to meet up on this top half of the map. Kenvi did spot out that Iconic is nearby with the help of the Scryer's Bloom. So that's why he's backing off towards Gamsu, who's got a decent shove compared to that of Ryoma into Jimmy N.
Yeah, and it also pushes Tony Top. Tony Top now knows, and Kenvi even shows that he's up here at the same time. And the big thing they got to pay attention to right now is where the jungle camps are still available. And they actually spot out Iconic doing the Raptors, which means that Kenvi has an opportunity to start hitting this Rift Herald after crashing the top lane turret. So Tony Top can't come. Iconic is too far. This should be an easy pickup for 100 Thieves. Great situational awareness with that first ward, but Ryoma wants to turn the story.
Will not continue forward because Jimmy N was spotted out by Iconic in mid lane. That could have been devastating, especially if Gamsu was able to get a good roam.
Yep. Iconic, I mean, he started the Raptors, has to go back to them, and it is going to be a bit of a time loss that he has going from the Raptors, walking over to see if he wants to contest the Rift Herald, and then going back, whereas Kenvi is still going to have his entire jungle to farm. So it is a small advantage once again going over to 100 Thieves. And can we also talk about Gamsu in the top lane real quick? This man is up 30 CS.
Decent, right? I don't know top lane, so you're, again, support main. So you're going to have to tell me if that's good or not. I'm just kidding. I know it's good. It's devastating.
That is a lot, Magical, right? This is a champion. I play a lot of Gnar, right? It is definitely my most played champion over the past like 5 years. This champion is not considered particularly good right now. Its itemization is okay, and the Gwen matchup isn't something that, you know, you're going to write home about. It's not that strong, but we are seeing that Gamsu having total control of this because Tony Top just gave up a lot of control over the early waves, and because he's given up so much control of the wave, he's starting to bleed out in terms of experience and gold. He's not going to have the same kind of wake up. I mean, he's already past level 6, and we haven't even seen him go for one of these large fights. They both still have all their summoners, and Gamsu should continue to bully him away. And now he's got a freeze going too, Magical. It just gets worse and worse.
We did get to see a little bit of Tony Top and Gamsu playing back last year during the summer proving grounds, and Gamsu, he really turned it on. I was expecting, because when he made his debut back over on 100 Thieves Next, it was more of the tanks, you know? He was playing more that style. He wasn't really playing these more aggressive split pushers or someone who wants to kind of get a good control of the lane phase. like he used to back when he was on Fnatic and stuff, but he's getting the Gnar right back on par where he used to be. That's one of his most played champs in his entire career.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that he's going to be having some success here as well. And, you know, we'll see. When we get the camera on him a little bit more, I'll have a little bit more to say about it, you know? But at the same time, we are also coming up to what I like to call the team fight counter, right? 40 seconds. You see it in the top left corner of the screen. Dragon's going to be coming up fairly soon. And this is one of the big question marks that you have to ask. The way that you used to play previous seasons was you would give up about 3,000 gold in order to grab 2 dragons, and then the goal was that it was enough that you could continue to chain them into the rest of the game. But with the game so even, I wonder if 100 Thieves feels strong enough to actually go for a fight.
Because just looking at the comp of 100 Thieves, they don't really need to, do they? They can still play this more passive style, even though you have Kenvi here nearby. Iconic, he has to use his dodge away just to get out of the fight again, because we have a good 2v2 matchup for the side of Golden Guardians Academy.
Yeah, very, very strong with these two champions. They have total control, and it looks like Golden Guardians are going to get themselves another objective at this point. It's a very similar, right? It looks very similar to what we saw earlier when Iconic was hitting the Raptors and Kenvi did the Rift Herald. Now Kenvi's doing the Raptors and Iconic is hitting the Dragon. So 2 Dragons going over to Golden Guardians. They are remaining very close to even. They're down about, 700 gold at this point, but that's not enough of a lead for 100 Thieves to feel comfortably ahead, that they're always going to be winning.
The right there pops it, so they're going to get that big swing of gold, especially for the top side. That probably is where the majority of that 700 gold lead for the side of 100 Thieves already is. No, not again. Oh, Jimien. Good
and it's going to be even large. Jimien. Yeah, I was very interested watching a lot of the VODs coming through as we see a top lane turret go down for 100 Thieves, and even more minions end up getting lost by Tony Top. He will pick up quite a bit, so he will get closer to like a 20-ish CS deficit when all is said and done. But I watched a lot of Jimmy and VODs before the season actually started, and a lot of people were lauding him as this really big top mid laner over in the PCS for Machi Esports. And it's kind of interesting to see how well Ryoma is doing up against him at this point. That's the second time he's threatened to solo kill him. They've had a lot of priority here, and the question is going to be, is Jimien's later game going to come online, or
that's, I think, the big thing.
Or is Ryoma just going to continue to have his way with the game?
He's got the Mana Muna. It hasn't even upgraded to the Maramana at this point. He's not that much down in gold, but he still lacks the Mythic. He lacks either the Ludens or the Immortal Shield Bow that you've been seeing kind of the debate for quirky mid lanes, right? That really is going to provide that bang to these skirmishes that he might potentially be able to have against Ryoma.
Yeah. Also, look at top lane. 1,600 gold in favor of Gamsu. It's a... oh, boy. There's only half an item in Tony Top's inventory. Realistically, like a third, right? Each component, you have your components, and then you got your combined cost. The Rift Maker... this is not the strong part of that item, right? You want the blasting one. You want the raw damage, and he's just trying to survive the lane at this point. It's going to be a big bleeding as he just gets a poke.
Getting a good amount of damage, even though the needlework has been popped by Tony Top. Well, Ryoma is still threatening the skirmish mid lane. More needlework damage. Flash away from Gamsu. Now Tony Top's starting to get the better end of that trade. You talked about the level 6 power spec that you get, but the bot lane's also fighting. We get a good knockup coming in onto 6A with the help of that wild growth. Giant has to get away. They're going to be able to get the root. Cat, you got nobody to grab onto, so it's going to be 2 kills for the side of 100 Thieves.
There you go. Wixie and Sora continuing to punish Chime on this Yuumi, but Jimien taking a lot of damage at the same time. Iconic and Kenvi also fighting fights all across the map.
Realm is going to be able to show up, getting a lot of damage, but at that kill, he silenced his opponent. Kenvi showing up here in the mid game. Threatening Realm, a nice stun comes in with the help of Sword, so a double kill goes over to the side of 100 Thieves.
God, I love watching Lulu and any auto attack based bruiser like this. It's so hard for anybody to deal with them, and because they came in one by one piecemeal, it became an easy opportunity for Kenvi to take over that fight and also potentially take over the game. The game was so even. 3 kills suddenly going over to the star player of 100 Thieves. We're looking very, very strong all of a sudden, and I said
about
we have trouble with the Dragons.
1,000 gold lead for 100 Thieves just before that fight, and it has ballooned to nearly 5,000 after one fight.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, right? It's a huge amount of money that's currently going into Kenvy's pockets. Suddenly, 1,600 lead for him, as well as Gamsu over the top lane. Like, between these two players that are a part of the 100 Thieves total, like, scouting regime, where they have had so much control of bringing up new talent, they're looking really, really good, and it's going to give them so much power as we start getting towards all these fights here in the mid game that I was a little bit worried
There's a lot. The most right now is for Kenvy. The Viego at this point, 3-0 with a 300 gold bounty on his head. Normally, this is when you kind of say, okay, Xinjiao, you want to skirmish against Viego, you want to find these fights, especially with the help of Ryoma. Now it's just getting rough because you're getting closer and closer to Viego getting those 2 items and being nearly unstoppable.
Yeah, it's really going to be difficult. Kenvy looking very good, Gamsu looking really good as well, and they're going to need to be able to translate it because we do now have an opportunity to start playing for this next dragon. It's a Cloud Soul on the map this game, and Jimmy doesn't have teleport available, so he's going to be a little bit late.
Blocked by Sword, just takes all the damage with the help of the shield as well. While Kenvy threatening to flank, GGA takes only a little bit of damage from the laser pointers. Instead, he's looking for a Stixay here in the mid lane to help out that of Wixie and Sword. But Gamsu's also moved down, and Jimmyan's got the package, so there's going to be a fight soon.
Yeah, you always got to ask, are these ultimates used at the right time? Stixay took a lot of damage onto Wixie. And it does mean that it's going to be really hard for Wixie to enter a lot of these fights, but Jimmy taking control of the choke points, making it difficult for Golden Guardians to interact, and Tony already teleported mid.
Follow that up just yet. Still, it's this dance around the dragon, because 100 Thieves Academy, they're saying, go for it, take the dragon. We'll just start taking your turrets here. We're going to have all 5 members commit to this, while you are only 1 step closer to having the soul, not quite having it.
So also a Cloud Soul, right? The movement speed is good. Everybody likes having extra bit of movement speed running around the map, but is it always going to be worth it when you're giving up so much? I feel like what you were talking about previously, Magical, with the fact that 100 Thieves are going to be scaling really well. They have a Lulu, they have the Viego, they have the Fearless, they have the Corki, all of these elements coming together really cohesively to create really scary fights later on in the game. We're also finally getting an answer as to how Jimmy is choosing to scale. He's going to be going with a poke build, with the Loon style build, where he's going to be able to pressure off Ryoma and Stixay, and they're going to have a lot of issues coming in to actually play the fights.
I might not like seeing just 2 mid laners constantly played over and over again, but I actually do kind of like this build path for Corki. The style of damage you're able to get with those missile barrages constantly getting tossed out. It's a interesting and unique playstyle that we only got to see really back when we had a lot of the poke meta, or even back when you think of Italy back in the day.
Yeah, oof. Look at the damage that he's just able to do. I mean, that was 1 rocket onto Tony Top, taking like easy 300-400 damage. But we're also got to pay attention to, right, to how these players are going to interact individually. This is Academy, after all, right? These players are, by and large, fairly untested. They're looking to try and make a name for themselves. Not only is it a competitive league, but it's also a learning league, and now Iconic, he has to check that blind. He's not going to get punished as everybody leaves.
Saw that there were a lot of members here for the side of Golden Guardians.
Too many friends. You know, the best part of League of Legends is having friends, right? And at that point, Iconic had a few too many friends for 100 Thieves to feel like it was the right play right off the bat. But look at this. Once again, up in the top side, it was Gamsu being the recipient of the Rift Herald gold previously. Now it's Jimyan, because they recognize that the carry potential has really shifted. Gamsu did his part. He put 20 top behind.
Golden Guardians, they don't have all their members here. They're starting to set up a 1-3-1. Not really answered fully by 100 Thieves, because they don't have to. They've got that turret in the top side. They can force Tony Top, who's still 40 CS behind Gamsu here at this point of the game. Really the biggest deficit that we're seeing in terms of CS, and then gold from the kills for Kenvy over that of Iconic.
Yeah, I mean, Iconic definitely lagging behind at this point. I have to imagine they're both going towards the Sterix Gauge to have a ton of extra tankiness, and Kenvy absolutely loves having this item in his inventory, right? You just need that little bit of extra HP in order to make sure you stay alive for the next reset.
Right? You're looking at this mid to late game and seeing how powerful all these members on 100 Thieves are when they get the 2 or 3 item spikes for nearly every one of their champions.
every one of their champions, is also now moving up towards the top side of the map. And Jimian is still sitting on a lot of components like we were looking at. And again, I really want to pay attention to like how this guy is going to be playing later on in the game. Ryoma was big boy earlier on, but Ryoma now going for the Blighting Jewel and like the Void Staff isn't necessarily going to have the same kind of just like raw bursting power as you would typically expect via like a Shadow Flame or a Rabadon's, where he's trying to just blow up somebody 100-0. Instead, he's going to go for a little bit of a longer style fight where he knows he needs to take care of Gamsu
100
and
Thieves
Kenvi.
hero themselves, yet another Scuttle Crab. Golden Guardians a little bit too late to the party with very little control on this top half of the map. This quadrant pretty much has to be forfeit to 100 Thieves. Even though you're getting a little bit of poke, it's not really helping out, and you need to hurry up because you talked about Jimian and his inventory. He's just one back away from being able to get that Luden's Tempest. That's when the Corki really starts to hurt with those cannon barrages. Missile, yeah, whatever. Same thing.
Missile barrages, right? You know,
I miss
we got a game plan somewhere around.
GP10
he's hiding.
Back where I could just build. Yeah, I'm bringing this back up. Nobody knows this, but we were talking about this before with
not
our
this again.
producer, Kelsey. She was on my side. We agree. Bank Plank was fun. It was also easy because I didn't have the CS. It was a lot easier for me back then.
Fun, yes. Yes.
Yeah, me.
Fun for some people, but we'll see how well. Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately, like everybody knows that League of Legends is built around what Magical wants to do in the game.
See.
So, I haven't seen the video yet. We'll see it. We'll see it coming up at some point. But look at this. Hey, teamfight timer comes up, and everything is perfectly synced coming in for 100 Thieves. They got a lot of their backs in. Black Cleaver is coming out for Gamsu.
Nice.
Jimian has his package. Everything's going to be spawning in a couple seconds. He goes for 6A.
But those missile barrages connecting. The heal has been used by 6A to stay alive. Not going to be able to get the root they needed to from the Deadly Flourish, but they could chase down if they want to. Tony Top's on the other side. They have a TP from Ryoma. Looking for the poke with the curtain call. Valkyrie's away. Has the shield as well from Lulu to get the movement speed out of there. With the TP coming in from Ryoma, they're threatening this dragon. The soul's up. Tony Top needs to go now, but he's going to be a little bit too late to actually deny that. Going over to Kenvi, so instead, they have to turn their attention somewhere else. Ryoma's going to die there to Wixie. They tried to 1v1 Jimian, but didn't realize friends are always going to be helpful.
Yeah, this is the big part of Sword that we were looking at, playing the Lulu in the right place at the right time. And the big part of this game is that suddenly things are, they've been going wrong for Golden Guardians for a little while now, but now it's very plain and obvious to everybody that that is the case, right? The Dragon going over to the side of 100 Thieves, the kill that was previously, we were looking at multiple opportunities for Ryoma to solo kill Jimian. Suddenly he turns it right on around with the help of his friends, and Ryoma is no longer strong enough to have that 1v1 kind of impact. The fact that the rest of the map hasn't been able to get their own advantages suddenly means that Ryoma was kind of alone in his ability to try and stand up to the onslaught of the Thieves.
In the inventory of Jimian. He bought that before actually completing Luden's Tempest, just in case Ryoma looked for those 1v1 fights again, and that saved his life.
It did. It's really important that you're able to just stay alive for a little bit longer at something like this Corki, because you're able to interact with the rest of the game from such a long way away with all the rockets. So, you know, the only HP that matters is the last one. And so far, Jimian has done a good job at not giving that up more than once. But now, Iconic finds it.
Sword nearby. Friends, always going to work out. There, it's just 100 Thieves now. They're just goon squatting it everywhere. They're all being this gigantic people roaming as one unit, only sending Gamsu off to the side lanes just to make sure that Tony Top just doesn't backdoor the game.
Yeah, Tony Top is, to his credit, slowly starting to bring back all of the CS, right? We were looking at a 40 CS deficit at one point earlier. Now it's going to end up, you know, neutralizing somewhere around 15 to 20, right? It is a big comeback for Tony Top, but at the same time, that kind of comeback isn't enough to get you as a team back into the game. You need to be able to start threatening to kill Gamsu, and this is the situation where it is so difficult for Gwen to really do anything to Nara at this point in the game. Nara gets the extra range every single time you level up, a little bit more attack range on your ranged form,
just complete the
it makes it harder and harder for Tony Top to
does allow a lot more of that 1v1 potential, but right now we're getting a 3v1 against Kenvi. Deadly Flourish going to connect. Final Chapter flashed away by Kenvi just to survive.
Okay, it is, you know, a flash traded for the Yuumi ultimate. That's definitely good for Golden Guardians, but is it going to be enough, right? It always have to ask, what else are you going to be getting, and what will the call be for Golden Guardians? They're still poking around with Stixxay.
Damage on Kenvi. Deny the backs. They're even roaming up, and this is what I was talking about with Tony Top. He's actually able to duel against Gamsu now that he's got that Nashor's Tooth.
Oh, and they're running back into their own side of the jungle. Gamsu taking an interesting path, and I don't expect that anybody will expect that he is here, so he is going to be safe. But
he didn't go
Magical
for the blind
at this
flourish.
point, that would have been hard.
No,
If he got that one, I would have had to ask if he was ghosted.
Spotted out the movements and said, you know what? I have a feeling they haven't actually gone anywhere. Oh, wait, no, that was control ward for 100. My bad. Yeah, never mind. Yeah,
Then he definitely would be ghosting. But, you know, speaking of Stixxay, you know, going for these blind abilities, this is one of the guys that I was hyping up earlier in the day as saying, you know, they were having a lot of issues playing in some of the Proving Grounds games. Stixxay was the one that stepped up and was like, no, I am winning this game. I am winning. And we haven't necessarily seen that come out from him just quite yet. He hasn't been able to find any of these angles. He helped them pick up their third dragon, but as you identified earlier, 3 is not 4.
Securing a lot more control around. I mean, I'd honestly say the Dragon Pit, because they have nothing that they could really do on this top half. Look at how many control wards have been placed down by 100 Thieves. That's going to take a long time, a lot of effort out of GGA just to clear it all.
It's going to be very, very difficult, and the package will be coming up. It looks like Jimin is grabbing that right now as he roars onto the Rift in his full glory. Going to be coming down. Will have the package available to decide whether they want to play for the Baron or if they want to go for the next dragon. And again, 100 Thieves, they mostly just want to pick up the dragon to deny it from the members of Golden Guardians. The movement speed is nice, always is, but you just want to make sure that they don't ever get the Elder Dragon onto the map as a win condition to play for. And this is interesting, actually. Ryoma has a lot of friends coming up here that are currently not spotted by wards, dodging out from the blue trinket there. And it looks like they're going to be trading this dragon on the opposite side of the map in order to get some pressure, but they're not even able to hit the top lane turret and take it down.
At the moment. They need to start seeing if they can set up, especially Tony Top in these side lanes. He's doing his best to catch up against Gamsu, and even here, Ryoma looking for that 1v1 fight again against Jimmy N. Got a lot of damage, but the package is going to be away because he saw Iconic coming nearby with Chime attached. In the brush, still being safe, Valkyrie's away.
Oh man, that was so close from Iconic. The flash wind becomes lightning, almost catching Jimmy, and that would have almost definitely been his death, but not going to be able to catch that. Instead, just going to allow Ryoma to, you know, give the Teemo thumbs up and finally take down this structure, getting a little bit of gold back. But fascinatingly enough, because they have so many dragons, they're not getting access to gold bounties. Objective bounties are not available, so it's just a turret, which is not nothing, but
I was about to say, but they're also down 7,000
it's not a whole lot more than nothing.
At 29 minutes into the game, and where is all the gold? It's mostly in the top half of this map. You still look at Gamsu, you still got a sizable lead over Tony Top. Kenvi over Iconic. Even Jimmy N now has been able to pass that of Ryoma, who solo killed him at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's no justice sometimes, right? There's a bounty on Jimmy, and he is 0, 1, and 1. But, oh, they got a root.
Wixie still has Sword, still has Kenvi. Nobody wants to commit any further. They've got a heal, and only a heal out of 100 Thieves.
Looks like a different bit of communication going on there. Stixxay wasn't necessarily going for it, but Iconic and Chime were ready to full commit for the fight, and that lack of agreement on whether or not there was a play there could have potentially hurt them. I always like saying I want to see teams go out like KT, not go out like GGA, right? You know, that's an old reference Iconic caught.
This world to really see if that's going to be the case, because now with the jungler gone, that Baron should be on the eyes of 100 Thieves, while Tony Top looks for a little bit of a fight against Gamsu. He's not going to be able to get the Mega Gnar fast enough. He's got Ghost, and the Needlework shut down, solo kill in the side lane.
There we go. There we go. That's what we need to see. The Ghost on a shorter cooldown than the Flash, but at the same
Do
time, it's
something,
being matched
GGA.
by the Baron
Gotta make
being
sure you
hit
can deny
up on the
this.
top
Circle's
side for
been
100
open.
Thieves.
Looking for a little bit of damage, not getting the targets. It's going to be onto Kenvi. Looking for that final crit. Can you get it onto him? Doesn't jump over the wall, but the Baron's already secured by 100 Thieves, and they can easily recall out.
Oh. Wow, I mean, we are still seeing some signs of hope coming out for Golden Guardians, but it's being matched by the fact that they're not able to go for this play on the top side because
I was about to
Iconic
say,
got
3
caught
turrets
earlier.
total there
Tony
for
Top hitting 2
GGA,
turrets,
even though
3
it's Baron
turrets.
picked up by the side of 100 Thieves Academy. There's still a Jin. There's still a Victor on their side. They got wave clear, especially if you have a cannon minion. Even with the Baron buff, they can start whittling that down.
Yeah, I also had a conversation about this
Yep,
exact
you did.
build earlier, Magical, on Victor. So it is worth noting that magic penetration cannot put people into the negatives, right? It will never treat a character as having less than 0 magic
Well,
resistance.
that's not
and I did
true.
test this.
Anivia
I do
exists.
know this for a fact. And so,
Win in egg form, yeah.
true,
I'm
but
saying-
she
I'm
just has
saying.
negative
I'm just
resistance.
saying you can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm actually really curious. I'd have to test that specific interaction at some point, but there's a lot of extra magic penetration on Ryoma, and he's going to be overcapping. He's losing a lot of
Damage
efficiency
out of
on this
Jimmy
build, so
N.
it feels
Jesus,
really
just
good
one
to
of
just
the
blow
cannon,
people
the
up, but it's
missiles
only really
connect
helpful.
on to Stixay,
Yeah.
already getting the heal out of Yumi. That's one of those rough things where it's just like, okay, you got a good advantage. You were able to actually mitigate some of that lead that could have been picked up by 100 Thieves by getting 3 turrets, but just all this poke that can come in from 100 Thieves from such a long range makes it so that your wave clear can't get close enough to the wave to actually clear it out.
And that's why we were talking earlier about like the way that these teams are scaling, right? Jimmy just becomes so powerful at this massive range that it becomes really, really difficult for Golden Guardians to interact. And we're going to have to see, I think in particular, Ryoma just go for these opportunities to try and burst people out. But the problem is, those people are Corki with a Maw of Mortius, Wixie with Sword in his back pocket, and Kenvi who can just jump out and now has Guardian Angel and a stopwatch. So it is very difficult for him to find any targets at this point to blow up. And with 30 seconds left before another
And forced
dragon actually
3
spawns,
total stopwatches
Golden
on the
Guardians
side of
are
100
really
Thieves,
starting to
2
get
4
desperate.
critical members. There's going to be Kenvi using the Heartbreak to get away. TP's been used by Jimmy N to try to get nearby, but it's all way too deep. Tony Top
He's
dies.
fine.
Chime's going to be the next target because obviously you're going to kill the cat when nobody's there to attach, and they can chase down
This is it.
GGA. They're looking for the package. Beautiful, the cutoff. Iconic. Iconic dives in, but Jimmy N just goes golden. 6 eggs there to be the target while they take down Iconic at the same time.
Oh, they get one. Wixie ends up going
Just wave
down, but
clear.
at what
Just wave
cost? Everybody
clearance so
else
that
is
they
already
can't
dead.
end the game
Ryoma
that
has to try
easily,
and
but
get
it's
away.
going to be 40 seconds till you really get any backup. Sure, Chime's going to be the first one up in just a couple of seconds, but that cat's not really going to help out. Not when a turret can just be dove like this by 100 Thieves for an ace to end this game 1 and start off Academy hot.
Okay, yeah, 100 Thieves are looking really good. We were questioning how strong this roster was going to be with Sword coming in into the support role. How strong is Jimmy actually going to be? And so far, the answer is good enough to beat Golden Guardians
Oh, he
Academy
goes golden!
Game 1.
Beautiful! I love that stopwatch, but it's a cat. What
Oh, it's
can
got a
you do?
stopwatch.
Now objective bounties are up, but the
Oh.
game's over. We already know Tony Top, the next one in the ring, but just consulted back by Gomsu so they can end the game and start off this season hot.
It honestly didn't feel like there was a whole lot Golden Guardians could do that entire game. They were kind of just outclassed in most places along the map. We saw that Tony Top was struggling in the top lane for the first majority of the game. Chime really struggling on this Yumi, and the only place where they were able to find advantages was Ryoma over Jimian. And if that's going to be the case, it's going to be really hard for Golden Guardians to play against a lot of these teams. But we do still obviously have a couple of bright spots, and this is only the first half of the
that early
series.
lead a little bit better going into our second game. It's best of 2 still after all, so there's still plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like halftime, right? You know, you go to football, you got your first half, like, yeah, they got us in the first half, not gonna lie. But this is an opportunity now for Golden Guardians to try and turn things around. The Yumi first pick did not impress me. I want to see Chime on something that he can be a little bit more impactful on in the early game and actually potentially try and punish Sword, who is, again, coming in as a mid laner now in the support position.
After a short break, so stick around. We'll be back for Game 2, 100 Thieves Academy, Golden Guardians Academy.